Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You might be meal prepping or hitting the gym right now, multitasking like the awesome humans you are.
Love that. Efficiency is key.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And speaking of efficiency, we're going to pack a lot into this deep dive. We're talking pyramids, Nikola Tesla, and the mind-blowing significance of numbers.
My kind of mix.
Right. Ever feel like there are these hidden connections in the world
Yeah.
just waiting to be discovered?
All the time. It's what keeps me exploring.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're going to do today. So, pyramids.
Mm.
Where do we even begin? These structures have captivated humanity for centuries.
Mhm.
There's just something about them that screams mystery.
Totally. And the sheer scale of them, especially the Great Pyramid. Have you ever really thought about the logistics involved?
2.3 million stones.
Yeah. And not just any stones. We're talking perfectly fitted, laser-like precision. Some of those blocks weighed 80 tons, and they were transported over 500 miles.
It's mind-boggling. For thousands of years, it was the tallest structure on Earth. You gotta wonder, why go to such extremes? Was it really just about creating an impressive tomb?
That's the traditional explanation, but it doesn't quite cut it, does it? Even Nikola Tesla, the genius behind so much of our modern technology, he believed there was more to it.
Wait, Tesla, the alternating current, electricity guy.
Yeah.
What's the connection to pyramids?
Well, maybe we haven't given Tesla enough credit. I mean, think about it. This guy's inventions are the backbone of like 80% of the tech we use today. So when he gets intrigued by something like pyramids, I think we should pay attention.
Okay, fair point. You've got my attention. What exactly did Tesla believe about the pyramids?
He had this theory, right? That the Earth itself is like this giant generator, spinning around, magnetic poles, the whole deal. And the pyramids, because of their shape and their precise location, they could tap into this energy field.
Wow, okay, so he's seeing pyramids not just as tombs, but as some kind of ancient power stations.
Exactly. And to add fuel to the fire, back in 1905, he filed a patent for wireless energy transmission, inspired by his study of pyramids.
Wireless energy in 1905. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi novel.
The guy was way ahead of his time. Oh, and get this, to really prove his point, Tesla actually chose locations for his research facilities based on the positions of the pyramids at Giza.
He was that convinced.
Oh, yeah. Totally believed those spots were crucial for harnessing the Earth's energy. And here's where things get even more interesting. Tesla is totally obsessed with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Like, seriously obsessed.
Okay, now we're venturing into eccentric genius territory.
Yeah.
What's the story with those numbers? Did he think they held some kind of mystical power?
Not mystical exactly, but he saw them as fundamental, like the building blocks of the universe. Reflected in everything from nature's cycles to the laws of physics, he thought they held the key to, understanding everything.
So he's seeing these numbers everywhere, connecting them back to pyramids, which are already geometric marvels in their own right. That's some next-level pattern recognition. What did this obsession look like in his daily life?
Oh, he had some quirks, that's for sure. Like, he'd drive around a building 3 times before going inside.
Really?
Yeah, and he always insisted on hotel rooms with numbers divisible by 3, used 18 napkins at every meal, always multiples of 3.
Wow, that's dedication. But it sounds like he wasn't just being quirky. He genuinely believed these numbers held a deeper meaning.
Absolutely. And it ties into this broader idea that's been around for a while now, the concept of math as a universal language.
Like the language of the universe.
Exactly. Think about it. Math is the same whether you're here on another planet or in another galaxy. It transcends cultural differences, language barriers, even time itself.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. Pyramids, Tesla, the universe built on numbers. It's all connected somehow.
Yeah.
But how do ancient Sumerian sages wearing fish costumes fit into all of this? I'm feeling like we need a map for this deep dive.
That's where we start connecting threads from different corners of history. And this is where things get really interesting. We're going way back, even before the Great Flood, to the time of the 7 antediluvian sages. Wise figures from Sumerian tradition. They're often depicted in these, curious fish-like garments carrying mysterious bags.
Fish costumes, that's a bold fashion choice.
Right. But here's the mind-blowing part. These bags they're holding in this very specific way, they also show up in carvings at Göbekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tepe, isn't that one of the oldest known temples in the world?
Exactly. And we're talking at least 11,600 years old. That means this imagery predates recorded history. We're talking about symbols and knowledge passed down for millennia, maybe even influencing the construction of the pyramids.
Wow, it's like a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to the dawn of civilization. What kind of knowledge were they protecting? What secrets did they hold?
Exactly. And that's a question we're going to try to answer. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's bring our focus back to the Great Pyramid. Could it have been more than just a tomb? Perhaps a repository of this ancient knowledge, or, as some ancient texts suggest, even a device for resurrection?
Okay, now we're getting into some really intriguing possibilities. And that's what we'll pick up when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
So we were talking about the Great Pyramid being maybe something more than just a tomb, right? Well, this researcher, Anton Parks, he suggests it wasn't built as a tomb at all, more like a tool for resurrection.
Resurrection, like bringing someone back from the dead.
Exactly, specifically by the goddess Isis, to bring back Osiris, her husband, and Horus, her son.
Wait, are we talking about the same Osiris from the myths? The one killed by his rival, Set?
The very same. Osiris, also known as Enki in those Sumerian texts, had a pretty rough ending, let's just say. But Parks's research, it suggests that Isis, she used the pyramid's unique properties, maybe to manipulate Osiris's genetic code somehow, transfer his soul into a new body. And that new body became Horus.
Hold on, so you're saying the pyramid wasn't just a burial place, it was some kind of high-tech resurrection machine?
It definitely challenges the way we usually think about things, right? But we are talking about a civilization with knowledge and capabilities we're only starting to rediscover, and there's evidence to suggest that the core structure of the Great Pyramid, those deeper parts, the descending passage, the subterranean chamber, they could be much older than we initially thought.
Okay, so the timeline might be a bit fuzzy, but back to the resurrection idea. Is there anything beyond these ancient myths and Parks' research that supports that theory?
Well, it's not exactly easy to prove for sure, but it is interesting, don't you think, that some experts believe the Great Pyramid, they say it's a three-dimensional model of the afterlife, just like it's described in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So that does add another layer, connecting it to themes of death, resurrection, and consciousness, all those big ideas.
Okay, so we've got possible connections to ancient knowledge, maybe resurrection tech, a model of the afterlife, all in one structure. It's a lot to wrap your head around. But let's not forget about the numbers. Those numbers Tesla was so fascinated by, 3, 6, and 9. They seem to be everywhere when you look at the pyramids. Is there any connection there? What's the significance?
Oh, those numbers are key. To really understanding what's embedded in the Great Pyramid, we need to consider this ancient concept. It's called the music of the spheres. It's the idea that the universe is structured by these harmonious mathematical ratios.
Music of the spheres. Sounds a little poetic for a bunch of giant stone blocks. How does that tie into the pyramids and those specific numbers?
Well, think about the geometry of the Great Pyramid for a second. It's not just a simple four-sided structure, right? Each face, it actually has this subtle concavity, so it's more like eight-sided. And this complexity, it reveals a lot more when we look at the number, like hidden codes. When we analyze the geometry, we find these unexpected mathematical constants. The golden ratio, Euler's number, all appearing in the pyramid's dimensions. And it's not just coincidence, it's completely intentional.
So the builders were speaking a mathematical language, encoding these universal constants right into the structure itself, like leaving a message for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't forget the location. The pyramid is almost exactly at 30 degrees latitude, which happens to be precisely 1/3 of the distance between the equator and the North Pole. The builders, they knew exactly where they were putting this thing.
Hold on, so they weren't just wandering around the desert and just plop these millions of tons of stone down wherever.
Not a chance. They had a plan. And it was based on a really deep understanding of Earth's geometry, Earth's astronomy. And here's another incredible detail. The Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly with true north. The error is only 360th of a degree. That kind of precision for a structure that massive, it just points to an unbelievable level of skill and knowledge.
All right, so we've got the alignment with true north, the specific placement, the math constants embedded in the design. What else is there?
Okay, are you ready for this? When you multiply the dimensions of the Great Pyramid by 43,200, guess what you get?
I don't know that.
You get the dimensions of the Earth. The base perimeter, when you scale it up, it gives you the Earth's equatorial circumference. And the height, when you scale it up, gives you the Earth's polar radius. It's like they built a scale model of the planet.
43,200. That number rings a bell. Did we mention that earlier?
Yes. And it's not random at all. It's a multiple of 72, a number that pops up all over ancient mythology. And it's connected to this thing called the precession of the equinoxes.
Okay, refresh my memory about that whole precession of the equinoxes thing again.
So picture the Earth spinning like a top, but as it's spinning, it's also wobbling on its axis, really slowly. This wobble is called precession, and it takes, get this, about 25,920 years to complete one full cycle.
So a really, really slow wobble. But how does this connect to the pyramids and Tesla's numbers?
Remember that scale we talked about, 1 to 43,200? That ratio links the Great Pyramid's dimensions to the Earth's dimensions. And like we said, 43,200, it's a multiple of 72. It's like the builders encoded this massive cosmic cycle into the structure itself.
So the pyramids are more than just aligned with true north. They're aligned with this huge cosmic clock too.
Exactly. And remember those other numbers, 2,160, 630. They're all divisions of that precessional cycle. For instance, 2,160 years, that's the length of one astrological age. The time it takes for the sun to appear to move through one constellation of the zodiac during the spring equinox.
Hold on, are you saying that the zodiac, like all that astrology stuff, is actually connected to the pyramids?
Think of it more like recognizing how much the ancients understood about those cycles up in the sky. They saw these cycles reflected everywhere. In the heavens, they encoded them into their monuments, their myths, their systems of knowledge. They were trying to tell us something about where we fit into all of it, into the cosmos.
So it's not just stars and planets. It's about time and cycles, but on a massive scale.
Yeah.
And those cycles are based on math.
Exactly. And remember, Tesla's obsession with 3, 6, and 9, all those numbers we've been talking about, 72, 43,200, 25,920, even 26 or 9, they all boil down to 3, 6, or 9 when you add up their digits.
Wow, it really is like a secret code embedded in the universe itself. And these ancient civilizations, they were tuned in.
And it brings us right back to Tesla's big idea. The universe is fundamentally mathematical. Maybe the Great Pyramid is proof of that. A silent language waiting for us to learn the language of math and geometry to decipher it.
Okay, starting to see how it all connects. But why those three numbers? What's so special about 3, 6, and 9?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Tesla always said they held the key to understanding the universe, but he never really spelled it out. This might get a little complicated, but some researchers, they think it relates to this thing called vortex math. It's a system where numbers create these repeating patterns when you manipulate them in specific ways.
Vortex math. Okay, now you're losing me a little.
That's a fascinating idea, I promise. In vortex math, if you start with 3 and double it, you get 6. Double 6, you get 12, and 1 plus 2 equals 3. See? It keeps going. 3, 6, 3, 6. But when you start with 9 and keep doubling it, you always get back to 9. 18, 36, 72, 144, the digits always add up to 9. It's like 9 is its own system.
So 3 and 6 are doing this little dance together, and 9 is off doing its own thing.
Exactly. And Tesla, he thought this reflected some fundamental principle of creation, a duality represented by 3 and 6, and a unity represented by 9.
Okay, I need a minute to process all that. So are you saying the pyramids, with all their precise dimensions and alignments, they're tapping into this vortex math, this hidden code of the universe?
It's definitely a possibility worth thinking about. And don't forget, Tesla wasn't just fascinated by numbers, he was obsessed with energy too. He thought energy is the fundamental building block of the universe, and he was convinced the pyramids were harnessing this energy somehow.
All right, so numbers, energy, pyramids, and Tesla all caught up in this cosmic vortex. But what's it all mean? Why encode all this knowledge into these giant structures? What was the point?
That's the ultimate mystery, right? Were they giant energy generators? Gateways to other dimensions, libraries of lost knowledge, or maybe something we haven't even imagined yet.
Like a giant puzzle waiting to be solved. This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from ancient Egypt to the cutting edge of modern science. But we've covered a lot. I think we need a minute to absorb it all. When we come back, let's explore some of those possible explanations for the pyramid's true purpose and what it all might mean for us, today.
Okay, we're back. And I gotta say, I'm still processing all those connections. Pyramids, Tesla, the hidden language of numbers. It's a lot, but it's also really exciting, thinking that these ancient structures might have clues about not just our past, but maybe even our future.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? What if these ancient civilizations were way more advanced than we give them credit for? Like, what if they knew stuff we're only just starting to figure out now? So let's dig into some of those possible explanations for what the pyramids were really for. What are some of the top theories out there?
Well, we talked about Tesla believing they were giant energy generators, right? And even today, there are researchers looking into that. How the shape and placement of the pyramids could, interact with electromagnetic fields, maybe even create resonant frequencies.
So like they're acting like a massive antenna, pulling in energy from the Earth and amplifying it.
That's the idea. And if they could tap into that kind of power, think about what they could have used it for. Levitation, sound technologies that could manipulate matter, healing. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about the possibilities.
Okay, yeah, that would have been a game changer. But is there any actual evidence to back up this theory? Or is it just speculation?
It's tough to prove, for sure. But there are some weird things going on around the pyramids that are hard to explain. Strange lights, electromagnetic disturbances. Some people think those things could be connected to the pyramid's energy harnessing capabilities.
Definitely adds to the mystery, that's for sure. What about the idea that they were astronomical observatories? I mean, the ancients were amazing astronomers, we know that. And the way the pyramids are aligned with certain stars, the solstices, equinoxes, it kind of supports that theory.
Absolutely. That's a strong theory. Imagine priests and astronomers up there in the Great Pyramid observing the movements of the stars, predicting eclipses, charting the seasons. That knowledge would have given them a ton of power and influence.
So instead of a giant power plant, it was a giant telescope pointed at the sky. I like that image. What about the idea that they were repositories of knowledge, like ancient libraries packed with lost wisdom?
Another popular one, and it really sparks the imagination, right? Chambers filled with scrolls and artifacts, advanced scientific knowledge, philosophical insights, maybe even historical records from a time long gone.
Like finding a time capsule from the dawn of civilization. Amazing. But if that's true, where is all that knowledge? Why haven't we found it?
Well, some people believe it could be hidden within the structure itself. Encoded in that complex geometry, those precise alignments. Remember all those math constants and ratios? Maybe they're not just random. Maybe they're clues to a deeper understanding of the universe.
Like a giant treasure hunt. And the prize is knowledge that could change everything.
Exactly. And it takes us right back to Tesla's belief that the universe is fundamentally mathematical. If that's true, then the pyramids, with all their intricate geometry, their precise alignments, they might be more than just tombs or observatories. Maybe they're gateways to a whole other level of reality, something we're only just starting to get a glimpse of.
This has been an amazing journey. Ancient mysteries, mind-blowing numbers, the visionary ideas of Nikola Tesla. It's a lot to take in. But what does it all mean for us today? How can we apply these insights to our modern lives?
That's the big question, isn't it? Maybe the pyramids are reminding us that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves, a universe governed by laws and principles that we're only beginning to grasp. Maybe they're challenging us, to expand our thinking, to question everything, to explore those hidden connections that link us all.
So you're saying the pyramids aren't just about the past, they're about the future too.
Exactly. They're a message from our ancestors, sent across time. They're telling us to unlock our potential, to embrace the mysteries of the universe, and to never stop searching for knowledge.
What a fantastic thought. We've explored ancient Egypt, the frontiers of modern science, encountered mysteries that challenge our very understanding of the world and ourselves. If these ancient structures hold the keys to our place in the cosmos, are we ready to listen to what they have to say? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.